Penumbra kicks off the 10-part conclusion to the story of Deep Space Nine. There was so much that had gone into making the show over those 7 years that wrapping it up in one finale was simply not practical. Too many plot lines, too many characters. Space was needed in order to give satisfying payoffs for all of them. Or at the very least to make the effort. Much like how penultimate is the one that comes before the ultimate, penumbra is that which comes before the umbra, the darkest part of a shadow. In other words, penumbra is what you have before the greatest darkness arrives. Woo! So on that note, let's talk about Sisko's new dream.
And I said to myself, this is the place. This is where I'm going to build my house.
There is nothing quite like that sense of satisfaction that comes from a plot of land to call your own. Whether it's a lot in the city or acres in the countryside, having a homestead, especially one built with your own two hands like Sisko's planning to do, is a wonderful feeling. So I guess it's a good thing that all the Maquis plots were sorted out a while ago, or this would be really awkward, wouldn't it? Sisko can't help but reflect on the massive changes that have led this temporary assignment to make him want to spend the rest of his life on Bajor. But Cassidy points out that given his relationship to the prophets, it's no surprise that he was led here eventually. That it wouldn't be surprising if this was all part of a plan. I mean, when you exist outside of time, plans are pretty easy to pull off. There's no last-minute screw-ups if there's no last minute, is there? Elsewhere, Ezri, Bashir, and O'Brien are having a cheerful conversation, so Kira swings by to quickly put a stop to that. 2 Klingon ships were ambushed. One of them was commanded by Worf. Man, 7 years of TNG and 4 years of DS9, and he's still getting beaten up by aliens. What's your deal? But this time may be the last, because even though they recovered 6 escape pods, Worf was not on any of them. After the titles, Quark offers Ezri a bit of comfort. That despite everything, Worf is going to be found and come back. Because Worf owes him money, and he could enjoy Sto-vo-kor knowing that he's in Quark's debt. And he has a valid point, though I'm now picturing a zombie Worf shambling into the bar, dropping a pile of money on the counter, and then eating everybody's brains. But despite this ironclad logic, Sisko calls up Ezri to say that they're going to have to call off the search. The Jem'Hadar are in the area, and they've searched all over the place already. The odds are so long anyway that he even survived in the first place in order to be found. They just can't justify the risk of staying.
The Defiant is returning to Federation space. I'm ordering our ships to pursue.
No. Divert them to the sonar outpost on Davos 2.
Why?
No reason, but if we name-drop the Sona, sales for the Insurrection DVD may go up. But there's animosity between the two. Damar's not too happy about the cost this war has had on Cardassia's people, and Weyoun isn't happy that Damar isn't even bothering to hide his blatant alcoholism, openly drinking on the job in the morning. What do you think this is, the U.S. Congress? But Weyoun needs Damar to keep doing his job, such as installing a completely secure comm unit. You know, the opposite of every other kind of comm unit that we can see easily messed around with by just about anybody with a screwdriver. Back on the station, Ezri passes Worf's quarters and is compelled to enter, prompting an audio flashback montage of Jadzia and Worf's life together. So she does what Trek characters always do, steal a ship. Whether you're after the reanimated body of your Vulcan friend, trying to prove your new warp engine won't blow up, or transport yourself back to your own reality, stealing a ship is always the right call. And it's especially easy when you're as cunning as Ezri.
Uh-oh.
Sisko to Gander. Gander, respond.
Doesn't matter. There are only 4 rules you need to remember. Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, throw away the plan.
Gander here. Shh. I'm not reading you very well. There's interference.
It's possible it might be interfered with by your sense of overwhelming shame. Sisko finally decides to just let her go, if only to end this embarrassment, and to allow her to get some closure. Plus, she's heading into the Badlands, so we can reuse that special effects footage and keep it under budget. She heads inside where Worf's escape pod, if he had had one, would have likely gone, and then cuts the engines to see where the currents might take her. While she rides the rapids, Sisko is working on the model of the house that he's going to build. And as he discusses the options with Cassidy, the subject turns to how he'd like to share it with her. Be their love shack. He proposes right then and there, and she accepts. Sisko is love, Sisko is life. Back in the Badlands, Ezri's plan worked and led to Worf's pod, and she snags it and beams him on board. The day has been saved by Ezri, and there's a sentence said about as often as, extended warranty? Please tell me more. She tends to his wounds while insisting that this was not personal, despite the sexual tension being so thick you could pound a nail in and hang a Georgia O'Keeffe painting on it. That's the opposite of the reception that Weyoun has when he stops by to see the female changeling. And I should mention now, given that she will be appearing throughout these 10 episodes, and I am not going to say the female changeling every frickin' time, I'm going to need some shorthand here. So I've decided to go with Sanders, because her initials are one letter short of KFC, and her face kind of looks like chicken skin anyway. Sanders wants to know if Weyoun has found a cure yet, and he says that they've been working on it day and night, but they haven't succeeded yet. So with the gratitude you've come to expect from the founders, namely none, she orders that the scientists responsible document their efforts and then be executed to motivate their clones. And you know, nothing motivates you to save someone's life like knowing they're a heartless monster, right? You wouldn't dream of letting someone like that die. Yeah, I know they think the founders are gods. I guess proving that they're wrathful gods is one way they can crack the whip. The fact they seem to be dying or actually die so often makes it kind of hard to insist they're divine, though. It took a bit of work to convince St. Thomas, after all. On the station, Sisko lets Jake in on the wedding and even offers him a chance to be the best man.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
I mean, are you sure you don't want to ask Grandpa or Dax?
Nope.
Dax? Dax can't be best man. She's already old man. Best man, old man. It's just way too awkward to say.
That means I get to plan the bachelor party.
For your dad? Oh, that won't be awkward, will it? On that subject, awkwardness, not getting a lap dance in front of your pop. Let's cut to Worf and Ezri. While heading back, the Master Counselor seems to be having difficulty finding out what to say to someone that's been trapped in a tiny box for several days. She wants to be able to talk about the things that they have in common, but that is the fact that she's Dax, and being constantly reminded of his dead wife is not boosting Worf's mood for some reason. In her defense, he could be more grateful for saving his life, but in his defense, Ezri's a frickin' moron. It's almost a relief that the Jem'Hadar show up to attack, but it does force them to abandon ship on an uninhabited planet.
We may be here several days. I will reconnoiter the area. Set up a comm link and try to contact the station.
Right. Where's the comm unit?
Uh-oh. Well, it's probably for the best. You'd have to climb a mountain together, and we've seen that before.
Look on the bright side. We'll have plenty of time to talk.
Oh, joy. I think we're about to see Worf contemplate honorable suicide once again. Meanwhile, Sisko and Cassidy are making non-bachelor party-related wedding plans, such as having Admiral Ross perform the ceremony.
My mother would prefer her daughter to be married by a minister. But an admiral's the next best thing.
That's good. Now that's... Wait a second. Minister? As in... You're suggesting that the homogenized progressive groupthink zombies that are the Federation human race might actually have members who have religion? Not just any religion, but organized religion with ministers? Holy shit. First Sisko buys land, now humans have religion? I can't wrap my head around this. Next thing you know, they're going to tell me gay people exist. Over on Cardassia, as Damar grumbles to his mistress, Dukat swings by to remind us that he hasn't been killed off yet, even though the natural end to his character arc came about 1.5 years ago. Since then, he's been drifting around, causing a little bit of mischief here and there to remind us what a mistake that was. Now we're in the endgame, so we're going to have to double down on that.
You see, I've come to know the love of the Palwraiths.
You're Dukat. Is there any love you haven't come to know? For crying out loud, I bet if you tried to get an STD test, the Petri dish would melt. Anyway, on the subject of the Pa Wraiths, let's just save that topic for another time. We have more important things to worry about, like Worf returning from a hunt.
Why'd you have to kill a defenseless animal? We have plenty of field rations.
I've been eating field rations for 6 days. I am sick of field rations.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
So you traipsed into the jungle and phasered yourself something to eat?
I did not use a phaser. I used this.
Oh, well, that makes it all the more sporting.
Oh, shut it, Ezri. Yeah, it's pretty sporting to go into woods with nothing but your bare hands, find a stick, sharpen it into a spear, stalk and kill an animal. And if you don't think so, you don't know anything, because I've never hunted in my life, and even I know that's hard to do. You can disapprove of what he's done all you like, but saying it's not sporting is a big red flag that you're an idiot. Second, your food supply is limited. Did you know that? It carried out like half a backpack, for crying out loud. So, do you know when the best time to hunt is? It's when you have the strength to hunt. This is not a camping trip, you sheltered boob. You're trapped in the wilderness with little hope of rescue. Jeez. It's like a note came back from the studio. Okay, you can have Cisco buying land and a minister, but put in a sanctimonious anti-hunting lecture. Otherwise, people might forget that this is a left-wing utopia here. Well, we could include a gay character and... Shut up! Shut your fucking mouth! Getting full frontal Ezri after hours spent stalking his prey, Worf finally mutters a snide remark, so she shoots one back.
I'll bet Jadzia would have been able to do it. I was merely making an observation.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Perhaps we should both refrain from making observations.
You're right. Let's just go about our own business and exchange as few words as possible.
Quite the peacemaker. But then, Worf is the counselor, and Ezri's a combat officer from a warrior culture that had been trapped in a box for several days. It makes sense that she'd be hot-headed and he'd be the one trying to smooth things over. To continue her streak, she decides to loudly complain about all men everywhere. Then she brings up a guy that Worf had always suspected Dax had slept with before they had met. But Jadzia kept having meals and stuff with the guy even after the two of them were married. And Ezri leaves the implication hanging that, yeah, Jadzia slept with the guy. When he gets upset, she says that he's a few bricks shy of a full load. Although I think we can all agree at this point that she's been acting an O short of being a full count this entire scene. The cause of all this venom is apparently sexual tension, because very soon the making out begins, there's a fade to campfire, and then the Breens show up and shoot them both, apparently having had enough of their bullshit. Not that anyone could argue with them about that. Over on Cardassia, we discover why Dukat stopped by. He wanted to be surgically altered to look like a Bajoran. Considering this history, this might just be a way for him to try to score with some again. But to finish things up, we return to the station because Cisco is about to get a visit from the Prophets. But it's not good news. The one who... Let's skip a whole lot of complexity and just say this is Cisco's mom. She's there and saying that he can't marry Cassidy. If he does, he'll know nothing but sorrow. Which is either a forewarning or just a sign that her marriage to Cisco's dad had really soured her to the whole idea of matrimony. Post-episode follow-up, annoying character, try not to be too surprised, goes to Ezri. Apparently if she'd just packed her vibrator on this trip, we could have avoided a whole lot of unpleasantness. We have a burn baby burn for another lost runabout. That's 3 for 3. It's happening with such frequency, I may need to give them their own special category. Final score for Penumbra is 3 out of 10. That's not to say it's awful, since all scores are relative, but this episode is all set up, so it doesn't deliver much. Not that it was a mistake, it just needs to establish where things are going, but it's not the kind of episode that's fun to just sit down and watch see. They've chosen to start quietly in order to give themselves room to build, and that is probably the smart choice in the long run. So don't take the 3 as meaning that it's awful or incompetent or anything like that. Just that, unless you're planning to marathon the closing arc, there are a lot better episodes to enjoy. Hail the Overlord.
Cut it out, old man. I'm not buying it.